Need a versatile and sustainable material to beautify and create an eco-friendly home? Well, consider bamboo. A hardy, durable product from a renewable resource, bamboo building materials are becoming more and more popular with eco-aware consumers and environmentally responsible designers. Zoo Bamboo Philippines are the pioneers when it comes to quality bamboo materials in the Philippines, with a focus on all premium bamboo natural products, whether it's indoor and outdoor flooring, cladding, outdoor decking, or veneers. Build sustainably with bamboo. Get in touch with Zoo Bamboo via their website, zoobamboo.net today. Welcome back to another episode of Soulful Feast, bite-sized information to nourish your body, mind, and spirit. Today, I want to talk about new beginnings. What it's like to start over. You know, we had a past episode with Mika Ellen. We speak about her breakup and my breakup. But really, what is it like to go through a whole new phase in life with a whole new relationship? Today, I am fortunate to have with me a really good friend of mine who I actually got close to over the pandemic. We have a writer, TV and event host and content creator, James Deakin. Hi, Tito James.
Hi, guys.
Hi, and with us today is his beautiful new partner. We have fitness influencer and content creator, Roxy Delevin.
Hello.
Hi. All right.
And with Roxy is...
Guys, my doggy Pepper. Don't leave her. Okay. Well, that says something about her beautiful character because my doggy is picky. Okay, Pepper's picky. All right. So let's just get right down to it. You know, there's a big elephant in the room. You went through a reckoning over the pandemic. We had some long conversations about this. Eventually, you left your marriage. Let's talk just briefly. We don't need to dwell on it. What sparked that change and to suddenly take life into a different path?
Okay, well, on probably from your perspective and other people's perspective, it happened like that. But that was probably the most difficult part about this. It didn't happen like that. We had our own internal, we had our discussions. We had decided in 2018 together as a couple whether this was working or not. And we amicably decided that's no. It's, you know, we tried. We were already, 25 years almost at that stage. And so we decided to call it as a separation. So it was very mutual. In fact, it was my wife who brought it up. It wasn't a big moment. You know, it was a discussion we had. There wasn't a fight. There wasn't a catalyst. There wasn't, you lost all our money in gambling. You drank it all away. You had an affair. Nothing like that. It was just after struggling for so long with lack of communication being, I guess, the main thing, it got brought to a head, you know, and we decided, let's try it out first as a trial separation and not say anything to anyone. So we didn't have that extra pressure. You know how it is. People tend to...
So many voices
Too many
around
voices,
you.
too many
Absolutely.
voices. So,
and opinions.
Exactly. So, you know, there's a lot going on. Even if it's amicable, that's another thing that's kind of, I wanted to dispel that myth that just because it's amicable doesn't mean it's not painful, it doesn't hurt, or it's just two adults trying to work through it because you have higher purpose, you have kids. Speaking of the kids, that's why we wanted to sort of keep it buried. Yes, my daughter was in an Opus Dei school. Actually, so was my son. But she was just about to graduate. So my wife asked at the time, can we wait till she's 18? Seemed like a very reasonable request to make. And as we were still trying to work it out, what I'm getting at here is there was like 2 years before the pandemic, before we actually physically separated, that nobody really knew about. Not even the kids.
So when you did finally come out, let's say, and be like, okay, this is the new life, this is the new me, what was going through your head? What were the changes that you wanted to make in your life?
Well, that was the trickiest part, Steph, because there wasn't really that moment. There wasn't really like, okay, today's the day we kind of... The way it happened was, all right, so pandemic came in, it gave the perfect cover. Like you couldn't beg for a perfect actual cover for this whole thing, right? Nobody was asking questions, everyone was at home, etc. So I went to an apartment, and then she stayed in the house with the kids, and we tried to sort of see how it went from there. And then as okay, internally the family started to know and stuff like that. At what point do you make this announcement, right? It's a little presumptuous.
Exactly. It's hard.
So it's a tricky spot because you're in a pandemic. There are things that are bigger than this.
Of course.
Does it seem very narcissistic to sort of say, hey, I know that the world stopped for everybody, but I want to make an announcement about something you didn't ask about. And so it was a very tricky spot. So kind of left it. But then it got to the stage when the pandemic was opening up. That's where it got tricky because we were like, okay, I had met Roxy during the pandemic. How do we introduce it now? Because it's getting a little...
Yeah, it's because there was no precursor,
Exactly.
right? Okay, so let's talk about that. First, on to happier things at the moment. How did you guys meet?
I remember exactly when James popped into my DMs.
Oh, she went there. Oh my God.
It was I posted a story about a certain coin. I was asking like an impulse check. What do you think of this coin? Because I was into crypto, early into crypto. And then he was one of those who responded, and we chatted a little bit. And then I actually didn't know him, but I know him by name, but I didn't know how he looked like.
Because you weren't based in the Philippines,
Yeah, I wasn't
right?
based in the Philippines. I also wasn't subscribed to the mainstream media here because I was always moving around. I was traveling so much overseas and kind of like a digital nomad for a few years. And so he popped into my DMs, chatted a little bit, and took it from there. I mean, got to know each other more, and then he shared a little bit of his situation, that he was separated and that, but he couldn't announce it publicly. And then we had coffee, and then we just clicked right away.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was really the situation. The timing was incredible because I didn't.
You perk up when you
Yeah,
talk
because,
about it.
I honestly, I'm going to reveal a little bit more here, but I honestly thought, kasi, judging when you saw her profile, well, she was based in Dubai. Right, so there was no indication, so it felt safe.
Yeah.
I was in a very vulnerable spot because I did kind of have this public personality, so I had to be very, very, very careful. I can't just be like chatting online with girls and stuff like that. So Roxy seemed safe. She was so far away from my world geographically and everything else. So when I it came out. Remember, I was like, well, when do you plan to visit Manila? Again, maybe we can grab a coffee or something like that. Again, feelings that there was this oceans between us and we were like so safe. And she goes, I'm actually here right now.
Oh my God.
And I was like, where? And we were in the same area.
Wow.
So I was like, oh my God, this is too crazy.
Yeah.
This is 2021, so pandemic restrictions were still pretty tight. But because we were in the same area, we could sort of meet up and,
That's great.
And we did, and we got along so well. I guess in that circumstance, you feel like you're the world was so different back then, right? And then here are these two people that kind of found each other. And because you know how like the same vibe of a holiday fling. I'm not trying to say your holiday fling, but the only comparison I can use is,
the intensity.
The intensity, because you kind of feel safe that you're not going to see this person again.
Yeah.
You reveal a lot more about yourself. You're not as vulnerable.
But I also feel like the pandemic made us just more authentic in general, because you wanted real human connections, right? Like I think
you were
even
craving for
me, it was like, well, we want to live in a no bullshit world.
Yes.
Because, there's so much hardship and so many people, quite frankly, dying that, I want to live life with no bullshit, right? And so when you connect with people, it's very intense, very real.
And with Roxy in particular, she had a deadline. Like she was leaving. This was very clear from the very beginning. Look, I'm only stuck here for a little while. Because yes, I'm from the Philippines, but I'm based out and I just got stuck.
Yeah.
I mistimed my flight and all this. I'm stuck in the pandemic. As soon as this is over,
I'm going back.
Yeah. And so it's not just Dubai, there was Canada. So she had already picked out her course and everything. So her life was mapped out, which gave me even more confidence because I didn't feel like this was gonna
There was no long-term commitment,
zero.
Whatever. I love it. No expectations.
Yeah.
Zero.
Look at you now. You're still here.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yes.
So exactly, too much of a good thing, I guess. But then, I guess what I'm getting at, Seth, is you were able to unburden in a way that you couldn't unburden with somebody who was in your
Absolutely.
circle. Somebody who had, there was too much risk with anyone else. So I felt, because I'm not going to see this person again, she's going to be one of those people that come into my life and will have something very special, but then she moves on, I move on. We'll never forget each other, but it'll never happen.
Yeah.
So I invested
Everything. That's amazing.
and it was, for me, the first time that I had really been able to be myself, because, you grow up with this, my whole living has been my public persona. And I hate to say it, but I kind of, because it was happened from so young, I didn't have a college degree, I didn't finish high school, I didn't have these qualifications. So I had to monetize my personality. That's literally all I could.
It's your bread and butter.
It's my bread and butter.
It's the business of you, right?
But when you start at 16, 17, and you know that that's your future, you have nothing else to fall back on, you kind of fall into, even in your personal life, you don't know where to draw that line. So I was always on parade. I was always on playing a role for somebody, even whether it was socially, I hate to say it, sometimes even within my family, because it was so
ingrained in you.
So with Roxy, because I felt, okay, this girl's going to go and this pandemic's it's crazy, I just was real. Because what have I got to lose? Nothing. And then she stuck around. So now she knows all my secrets and I can never get rid of her. So that's it.
I know
She knows
too
where
much.
all the bodies are buried.
Isn't it so liberating? I mean, I've had my own encounter like that where you just meet somebody that's like, well, I can be absolutely myself and totally bare my soul. And why shouldn't I? And then you realize, why can't I live my life like this every day? Why do I always have to put up a charade? You know, right?
Because, well, the more you put into the trade, the more investment you have in that facade.
Crazy, yeah.
And then you really don't know. That's why I think it was fate or a miracle, whatever you want to assign to that. It wouldn't have happened otherwise.
Yeah.
Outside of a pandemic, we've talked about this many times. I don't see any situation.
Yeah, because you wouldn't have broken down that
No.
wall.
And let's say if she had lived here and she was one of these people in my social circle and stuff, I just wouldn't have even the age difference, the everything.
We'll talk about that later.
Really, all the optics were wrong. So I would have naturally strayed away. I wouldn't have even given it that opportunity.
So let's, one learning here for you guys is really being vulnerable and being your most authentic self. Not just with potential partners or whatever, but with everybody, because that's how you forge deeper connections.
Correct.
Absolutely. That's with friendships, with your family, right? That's our number one learning for today. In this podcast, I always try to glean out like nuggets of wisdom from the people I speak to, because, just these experiences are what give us that wisdom to keep moving forward. So 1, vulnerability. It's amazing. We should be vulnerable and open. Now, number 2, when you finally, guys, just came out in the open. Okay, let's put it out there. What is your age gap? Dun, dun, dun.
Okay, I'll tell this one.
All right.
I don't know if I'm jumping the gun, but that was the biggest worry I had telling my kids, right?
Okay.
Because,
Of course.
Yeah.
So
The gap is 20 years.
20 years.
So, but when
That's a generation.
But when my kids asked, I said it was like 35, just so they went, what? And then when I was, I gotcha, the 20.
Only 20.
Couldn't see your face. They're like, thank God.
That's right. Exactly. Numbers here. Okay, so 20.
I used to sell used cars before, so I know the tricks.
So 20 years. Okay, so.
But she's older than all of my kids.
Okay,
I guess that was a line I couldn't
I
cross.
wanted to ask, really, first of all, there's so many layers to this question, right? So it's like, 1, what's it like to, have that age gap outside your own bubble between the two of you, right? Because, of course, between the two of you, it doesn't matter. Age doesn't matter. But outside it, there's so many other factors. And number 2, how did the kids react?
Do you want to take this first?
All right. Well, in our inner circles, it didn't really matter that much because once you hung out with us, you actually wouldn't notice that there was a 20-year age gap. With the way that our relationship dynamic it's very fair, I would say. Sometimes James would tell me that I didn't get the memo because of the way I tease him. Because it's not like I treat him as someone who's 20 years old, my senior. No, it's like No, I feel like you're the same age as me.
Sometimes I'm treated like the younger one. in
Yeah,
relationships.
sometimes I feel like
I believe
I'm,
that.
Yeah, no, it
I
really
totally
is.
believe that.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
there's this term as an old soul. I feel like I'm one of those.
Yeah.
That's true.
And I've had also the early childhood experience that I would say I'm already rich in life experiences as
Far
early
richer
as
in
in
my-
my
yeah, anyone
childhood
your age
days.
than I
So I feel like in the inner circles they would understand that, hey, actually, if you've seen them together, they actually are very happy and there's so much spark. But then we go to the public eye, and here
Exactly.
is where the scrutiny happens, because not only that I am 20 years younger, I kind of have a lot of baby fat still in my face, which kind of gives me this younger looking, and then with my personality that's bubbly, and then it's like it adds a lot more
Yeah.
youthfulness to it.
Was there any trolling, negativity? Was it difficult?
I'll take this one because it's
Were people meaner
yeah.
to you than to
Yeah.
him, or
That's
vice
a very-
versa?
It's easy to say yes and all that because we are the subject, so we're far more sensitive to it. So even if it's one comment out of 1,000, that's like, well, yes, we got hate, but we got to separate ourselves from that.
Yeah.
That's the only reason I want to take is if we do separate ourselves from it, we're not. Actually, it was very, very, very little to none.
Yeah.
So, but if you obviously when you're in the middle of it, everything feels personal and stuff like that. So I would say on the whole, none. But of course, in our world, what we would see were people trying to make gulo. Yes, there are always going to be people who are very opinionated about these things, but it wasn't getting any traction. That was the key. It wasn't picking up any traction because I guess people were able to see that, all right, for one, with my public life, I had never monetized my family image. That was not where I was. Yeah, I was always this transport guy. I was always Tito James. So I was never husband James, daddy James, the whole...
Which is hard because
Which is very
I think
hard.
for a lot of women tend to fall into that trope, right? I
Yeah.
mean, I actually had a person tell me once, like when I got married before and I didn't have kids yet, we don't know where to place you because you're not like hot young thing anymore, but you're
Yeah.
also not mommy. You know, like
Yeah.
so I
Yeah.
think
They
like men
like
have
to
an
box you
advantage
in.
where they don't need to capitalize on
No.
their role.
Yeah.
They just are who they are. Whereas
Yeah.
women tend to have to play this
Yes.
roles, right?
And yes, that's true. And so I didn't go into that. I just built my public persona up on my transport, on my social media, and my family were quite private about it. Sometimes I would show my kids, but my ex never really wanted to be in that public
Space,
eye
yeah.
anyway. So that helped. That helped a lot because had they known us as a power
yeah, of
couple,
course,
or
that's
social,
hard, right?
yes,
It's like major chismes.
yes,
right?
exactly.
Okay,
So
but
that
moving
helped.
from that, and also to be honest, like I mean, whenever I get trolls, I just delete, block, ignore, right?
Yes.
Like I mean, who cares? However, it's more painful when the mudslinging or scrutiny comes from people within your circle, whether it's like friends, family, or even just community.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
That, yeah.
so how was that like? I mean, I can imagine, especially in the South
Yeah.
and where you guys came from, that's a pretty small circle.
Yeah.
Very.
That
Yeah,
village is, you know.
Well, that's it right there because the trolling online on what I honestly can say with that pre-qualifying what I said was no, none in terms of how somebody else would look and go, no, that was fine. You weren't trolled. But yes, in the family and the close friends, that's where it can get a little bit, because you're always the last to hear about it too.
Yeah.
So by the time you hear about it, you know you've done all the Viber groups by then.
Yeah.
You know, you've been in
What was
every
the worst?
every Tita Viber group. What was the worst?
The
A
worst.
very, very close family friend. Very, very close family friend from the time I grew up, not with just her, with her kids and everything like that. That was painful because we were doing great as a couple that was separated. I was visiting the house every weekend. All family functions were together. There was never this division of. And then this family friend decided to talk to my ex and start saying things that were like, you shouldn't be accepting this. You know that voice that you shouldn't be. No, you shouldn't be right. Or you can be right. And then started putting her own assumptions into why, and then telling other people. That really hurt because that came from within. And you were like, I was just here. I'm on speed dial. You have every possible way to contact me. Why didn't you just ask? Why did you assume? Did I not build any equity in the whole lifelong relationship? Those things do hurt a little bit because you're like, you expect it from the public, but you expect more from your inner circle. But then, as the cliche is, it's really from within.
And what's hard is, what I find is like these people who have opinions of your life.
Yes.
They're not living in it. They don't
Yeah.
realize the kind of destruction that they can cause by just
Yes, even just a comment here and there.
by just commenting,
Yes,
right?
especially when it's commenting from, the optics already are a challenge. We're not blind to this. We know from the age to the whole midlife crisis, all of these things are there. So we know the truth, but we also know that there's a perception that you have to deal with.
Yeah.
So when somebody comes in and starts, making that even harder for you, and that person's supposed to be from your own tribe, you're like, no, and there was more than one or two of them. And so you feel like, wait, you're just making stuff up based on a feeling.
Yeah.
Because of what it looks like to you.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? Why can't we just operate with kindness and understanding?
Well,
Especially like if it's not your life. It's not you're not involved.
Yeah.
You're not
You're
involved.
not in a place to make a comment like
Exactly.
well, it turns out, without getting too into it, that this person was also having their own
issues. So
yes, it was a lot of projection. And so then when I realized that, I kind of, okay, this is human nature. And it still hurts, but you just got to roll with it.
So, building on from there, how are you with your ex right now? So you mentioned you were in a good place and then this perhaps situation sort of like polluted it. Was it difficult? Did things change when you guys came out as a couple,
Yes, it did. Things were going well, like I said, from 2018, 19, nobody knew, so definitely we were doing fine because otherwise people would have known. Pandemic went through that, okay, great, I would still visit and all that. So 2023, February was when we came out publicly. Not immediately, but I have a feeling it had something to do with that. Now, to be completely fair, I do understand that's a difficult thing for anyone, regardless of how amicable, regardless whether there's been years between it. It's the first time, the first person you ever see your partner with outside of you, and so we were both very, very sensitive to that. But that had to be counterweighed against. I am a public figure, so is Roxy. At some point, it's going to come out, and you'll lose control of that narrative if it's a follower that takes a picture and says, "What's going on here?" So it was a difficult decision to make, but it was a necessary one, and we seeked a lot of advice and stuff about this because you are in a tricky spot. So if we at least are the ones that announce it, well,
you own the narrative.
You own it because but then if you lose control, then by the time you try and catch up, that's it. You lost it.
And I've seen both of you hanging out with some of your children as
yeah.
well. So how did they react to that? Because I think for the most part out there, guys, like when people think of split ups and divorces and separations, we always think about the children.
Yeah.
And I only have my experience with younger children. You have children that are almost all adults, really.
Yeah. I have a 24, 20, and 17.
Yes. So how did they first take actually more than the breakup, but also introducing someone new into their life?
The first part was, of course, the breakup. We came clean about my ex and I came clean. So we sat them down and we talked to them about it. They took that fairly, by considering everything, they took it quite well. But they were like a little surprised because I guess part of the huge problem we had was a lack of communication. So that meant we weren't fighting. So they didn't see that. They didn't see any cracks in the facade or in the wall. And so when that was the only, I guess, dominant emotion was, well, what happened? I mean, like, I thought this was all right. Okay, then after that, it's okay. In hindsight, I can see it now. All right, now I'm piecing it together. That's why this, that's why that. So they were okay with it. Of course, the natural heartbreak of a family, there's no diluting that. But they accepted that and they were okay. Then when I introduced them to Roxy, I brought them to Singapore and I decided to like take them out of the country for a little while, and I spent some time with them, and then eventually I said, look, you know, we've been separated for this time, etc., whatever, and I met somebody, and then they were like, okay, and they were very accepting. And that's when I told them, when the question came up, so how old is she? And I can't remember if I said 17 or something shocking, just for them to get completely, you know. And then so when I said 30, they were like, thank God, thank God. The short answer is they took it well, but there's still levels to well,
Yes,
right? So
obviously.
they were very, I think they were deep down, they understood. They were happy for me that they could see me happy. I think that's genuine, that they felt that.
Yeah.
But there's also, I guess there's a certain loyalty to the mother. It's like, wait, we're happy for you. That are you okay, Mom? That because I don't want to be too happy for him if you're not. That's the most that we got out of it.
Dynamic.
The dynamic only. It's like we got absolutely nothing against Roxy, obviously, but how does our relationship affect? So they're in that stage where can I pet? Can I? Are you okay? They're feeling it out.
Pepper. I'm
Sorry for being a prop.
I love it.
I love it.
He even moved so he can get into the
Yeah.
camera.
But that's all it is.
Okay,
It's nothing deeper than
So
that.
I want to ask Roxy's version, right? What was it like to meet, quite frankly, children that can actually be your siblings?
Yeah.
Or, I mean, let's be
know.
honest,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
what was that like to suddenly come into their life?
Yes.
How did you feel?
Well, to be honest, it was kind of nerve-wracking for me because it's like I don't know what my role is. Like, I'm old enough to be like their older sibling. I'm not posing as a stepmom. I'm really not. And it's like I remember asking James, should I make myself look older? Like I can contour wrinkles and wear like a duster just so I look older than I am. And then his advice was, you know what, just be yourself.
Yeah.
And it's the best advice that I got because yes, I'm me. I didn't have to play a role.
Yeah.
I didn't try hard for them to like me. Of course, I was sensitive with the fact that it might be difficult for them to see their dad with another woman and they're not used to this.
Yeah.
So I was sensitive to that, but eventually we got along very well because they probably felt that I wasn't trying and I wasn't pretending. So it was you're more inclined to like a person when you see their authentic self,
Yeah.
which is
Absolutely.
Yeah, so when you're not trying to win approval, that's I guess was the key there. And then when that happened, turns out she has more in common with them than I do.
yeah, because
So,
I
especially
know
the
the
youngest.
games that they play. I know
Yeah.
what they're into.
The
We have so
music,
much to
the
talk
this.
about. I can bring in James to the conversations and help him catch up with what they're into.
Yeah, bridge those, you
Yeah.
know.
That's fine.
Yeah, so it's they had nothing against her, which was really it helped a lot. But I think it's just down to the dynamics, and that those will eventually sort itself out.
The beauty of Asian skin is as diverse as the continent itself. Genetics and climate play a huge role in how the skin behaves and responds. U Beauty understands the importance of a tailor-fit skincare routine to address the unique requirements of Asian skin. U Beauty is proud of their Protect and Repair skincare routine because, let's face it, we all need to protect our skin in the morning to combat environmental factors that affect our skin and also give our skin time to heal and repair at night. Follow U Beauty's social pages to learn more about how U Beauty can give you long-lasting beauty. Need a versatile and sustainable material to beautify and create an eco-friendly home? Well, consider bamboo. A hardy, durable product from a renewable resource, bamboo building materials are becoming more and more popular with eco-aware consumers and environmentally responsible designers. Zoo Bamboo Philippines are the pioneers when it comes to quality bamboo materials in the Philippines, with a focus on all premium bamboo natural products, whether it's indoor and outdoor flooring, cladding, outdoor decking, or veneers. Build sustainably with bamboo. Get in touch with Zoo Bamboo via their website, zoobamboo.net today. So, do you feel like society was kinder to one of you or both of you, like to men, to women, or in general?
That's a good question.
Yeah, it's a very good question. Actually, initially, because when we came out publicly on our social media, we kind of had like a burst of viral videos that were really funny, and it's like we kind of looked like we were just working together. So we were going viral, James and Roxy here and there, but not a lot of people know that we were dating. Like I felt like that was obvious, but it wasn't for a lot of people. So they liked us both for our comedy videos, funny reels and such.
Yeah.
And then from there, of course, you get those little comments of like, "Oh, they look like father and daughter."
Yeah, of course you get that. Ganda ng anak mo.
Yeah, mukhang mag-ama.
Yeah, and I mean,
Yeah.
it's again, elephant in the room.
Also, just owning up to it, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's no chismis if you're open
Exactly.
about it.
Yeah.
There's no shame. So
Yeah.
what,
Absolutely.
right?
I mean,
Yeah.
in 2023, if that freaks you out 20 years, you're not going to get through life very well. You're in for a lot of shocks. I mean, look at the relationships now. I mean, anyway.
They take all shapes and sizes
Absolutely.
and everything, right? Like, there's no more rules. Like, it's like basically loving the soul. You're
It is
not
that.
loving
Exactly.
anymore the person, but you
Yeah.
fall in love with someone's soul. And sometimes that can be like a man, a woman, right? People are pansexual. People
Yeah.
are, there's no more
Absolutely.
labels. So why must we be ageist also?
Exactly.
It's exactly because I know some 50-year-olds that I just can't relate to because they're just not. Maybe
Yeah.
that's their life experience or something like that.
Maybe you're isip bata. That's it. I'm just kidding.
I was going to compliment
Actually,
Roxy saying
I
that
can
she's
second
mature,
that.
but okay, yeah, maybe I am isip bata. But it
I'm
is.
teasing. No.
She is an old soul, so it's
is,
definitely.
yeah.
I wouldn't say she's a normal 30-year-old in that regard. And I wanted to also go back to that question you said about like with the groups and stuff because that's a big thing. Because of her being stationed outside so long, there's no like barkada that comes with this.
Of
I didn't
course,
inherit an entire 20-something barkada. That could have been difficult. I think that's what you were leading at before.
Yeah.
How did the age gap, especially with we didn't have that. It wasn't like she had a council of like, well, your council is.
Yeah, they're also
They're also,
overseas.
Yeah.
and they're also adulting already, and it's a totally different.
Absolutely.
But yes, had I picked her out from a group traditionally of, let's say, the 20-somethings that were partying in Poblacion, I would have to be relating to that whole
I
group.
feel old when I party
You
in
should,
Poblacion.
yeah, yeah.
I don't
I
party
go
at
out
all.
and they're like, "Hi, tita." I'm like, "I don't know you."
In fact, that's
Do not call me tita.
that's where we came out. We came out in Dr. Wine on the rooftop.
Yeah.
And it was in this area, and we were on the rooftop of Dr. Wine, and we had our photo taken there. That's the photo that we shared to go public. It was
love
Valentine's
Well,
Day.
you know what? That's what I love about my hood, Poblacion, is that it's so accepting and it's for everyone.
It
Yeah,
is,
you know
except
what?
there was a
Really?
really funny story
Oh,
of that
tell us.
particular
I
night.
like
That particular night, because we're speaking about the age and all that. You know, Dr. Wine's kind of dark and all
Yes.
that. And so at the end, I asked for the bill. We were chatting, and I just, like grabbed the folder and, put the credit card in there, and we were taking photos. In that kind of thing, I accidentally took the wrong card out of my wallet, and I put my license. It was just a innocent mistake. Yeah. So when the waiter came back and he put it down there, I was like, okay, that picture, and then,
Sorry.
yeah, no, but why is why did I? And because I guess he saw the confusion in my face, he goes, okay na sir, okay na. Ano, in-apply ko na yung discount.
Senior discount!
Woo! Woo! He went there. I was like, oh my God! I was like,
Oh my God.
Then
this
when
is
the penny
worst.
dropped, I thought that's why you gave me your license. It left a mark.
I'm dying. Yeah. Oh my God, I'm dying, and I hope you don't dye your hair. We like the gray. Oh my
Yeah,
God,
I love
embrace the
that.
gray.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's the worst.
That was really that, and that was
Okay,
the
I'll take
milestone.
Tita. You can call me Tita anytime. Don't ask for my
I
senior
need-
ID. I'm not there yet. Oh my God. No. Well, I feel like obviously we always say age is nothing but a number, but I think it's much more true right now than it ever was before. When you think of like the Golden Girls and how old they were in the Golden Girls, they were in their 50s.
I saw that recently. That was
Oh my God, it's
I always thought they were in
shocking.
their 80s.
Yeah, me too, right?
Because I guess
So
when
the
that series came
image,
out,
and then when you see in the 80s, like parents who are in their like 40s
Yeah.
or like late 30s, the way they're like dressed and look to be so
Yeah.
old, right? So it's nice that I think youth is universal because it's really a feeling and an energy. So, well, let's talk a little bit about that. Like, you guys are working together. It's exciting. It's a whole new aspect for you and your life. You know, having a partner, a creative partner. What is that like?
We love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course, with James and I, we're not gonna start a family together. It's already, I didn't want to have kids of my own.
Okay.
I didn't want to bear kids. And with James, he's already set. And I respect him for that. I mean, it would be unfair for him to have like
course.
a 1-year-old. And then when he's 70, we still have someone living under our roof. And so this is where we bond together. We like to work together. We love working together. We love to brainstorm, sit down and think about all the ideas. What's our next reel? What are we gonna do for this brand? What's our pakulo for this one? So
it's kind of hard if you're not with somebody that understands it. Because it's not just the posting. You know, the posting and the creatives and stuff when you're creating content is one thing. But you have to scroll content to also get. So there is
generate ideas.
And people, somebody who's not in that space can look at it as being that's rude. That what are you doing? You're wasting your life. But no, it's like if you see a doctor, you would never harass a doctor who's sitting down there reading, catching up on some medical stuff. You know, you'd be like, what are you doing, wasting your life away?
Absolutely.
But this is what it is for us. I mean, if we're scrolling, that's part of. We have to keep abreast of what's going on. But to a non-social media sort of.
God, it's so
It's a
incredible to
difficult
have,
thing.
you know, my ex never understood my work.
Yes.
And always put it down, to
Totally.
be honest.
Yes,
Like, it was like,
yeah.
pang balewala lang, pang shopping mo, or whatever.
Yes,
I was
yes.
like, oh my God, it's actually,
Pansin lang.
it's like 1/3 of my income or more, right? And it's like, I
With
have
me, it's more than it's almost 100%.
It's like you have to really make it tutok, right?
Yes.
And it's obviously so nice to have a creative partner, someone who understands what you're doing,
gets
who can
it,
really
yeah.
like help you like not just create the content, but come up with different perspectives on how
Yeah.
to present this stuff. It's so special. And, you know, it's nice to see you guys working together.
Just the photos alone, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I mean, to a non-social media person, it's very maarte to be, okay, no, the angle's wrong. But because we both do it, no, it's like sometimes I'm the one saying, no, that's not enough, take one more, you know, and I'll be, and vice versa. Because we know that once you take it, that's it. That's what.
Absolutely.
So it's to answer your question, I'm having a lot of fun. We're both.
Yeah, well, you know how women love to have an IG boyfriend.
Yeah.
Well, James is like
He leveled up because of you.
Yeah.
You're the IG girlfriend.
Yeah, I pulled out all my old cameras, started dusting off the
Nice. I
SLRs
love
and
it.
stuff. Yeah,
No, it's great. And you can really see it. You see the joy, you see the partnership, you see the collaboration. Is it hard to stay relevant?
very.
Oh yeah.
That's probably. I think.
I mean, honestly.
Before
right?
that was my biggest pressure. Before was how do you stay relevant in such a changing world, right? And there's always somebody new coming up and stuff like that. But that now challenges double because there's that genuine relevance that you need to create both online and offline. Then you got to cater to the almighty algorithm, which can never decide what it wants.
We all hate it.
We all hate it because
It keeps changing.
and the irony of all of this is, I remember getting into this so I could be my own boss, and to a certain degree, that was true. But now my boss is this algorithm, and it's for all of us. And we're like waking up in the morning, what's the algorithm want today? You want me to dance like this? I'm not going to go that far, but I'm just saying
I've
that.
seen you dance.
Yeah, well, true. I have caved every now and then.
Tito dance. Yeah.
3 kids in school I gotta pay for, right? So I had to during the pandemic I was dancing.
Oh my God. You do what you gotta do, man.
You gotta do
I wave diapers around
I think
for
people who
we
look
do
at
what we
that,
gotta do.
Yeah.
other fathers are like, respect.
Yeah,
It's okay.
absolutely.
If you're doing it to put your kids through school, respect. There I was on TikTok and But I only did TikTok because I got kicked out of Facebook during the pandemic.
It's difficult, right?
Of
Like, I mean,
course.
I'll be honest. Like, sometimes I'm like, sige na, I'll just post the bikini picture para may mga views. It's the truth.
Yes,
I heard,
yes.
yeah.
It's the truth, right? Or you're like, okay, what other, or if you want to post something meaningful, then like nobody cares.
Nobody
I'm so
cares.
sad.
High effort with good production value.
Yeah, exactly. So what are your feelings about that? Like, how do you feel being exposed out there every day? This is your bread and butter,
Actually, there were few good months that we were going viral here and there. Like every week, we would have a video that would have over 1 million views. And actually, I don't think a lot of people know what I had to sacrifice in order to get that kind of engagement, because my screen time on my phone would be 8 to 12 hours.
Yeah. That's what I was working on.
Wow.
So up until even when we're on a vacation, we were nonstop shooting for reels. And my concepts are pretty intricate, and it's the production. I want to keep the production value really high. So there's a lot of changing outfits, different scenes to shoot like maybe a 15-second reel. And when I realized, like, hang on, we weren't doing vacations like we used to do anymore. We actually don't stop working.
Real life.
Yeah, we don't stop working
Real
anymore.
life spelled double EL. No?
Your real life.
Yeah. So lately we've dialed down a bit because it was affecting my mental health, to be honest.
Absolutely.
And also, we don't want to be that kind of creator who just puts out empty calories, because we feel like being a creator is also a public service. I mean, if you want to put out a good influence out there, you gotta have some more substance, in your.
But it doesn't answer your question about how to monetize it, because that's where it gets tricky. It's like, yes, okay, now we're feeling fulfilled, but what are the public buying? And the public are buying the lower end.
Like for me, I have to. I'm a mother of young children, and sometimes whatever, I'm gonna let my Instagram take a hit because I'm going on vacation for 1 month and I'm shutting off my phone because I will never get that time back from my kids.
And those memories, those core memories.
And bahala na, I'm just gonna trust that like income is gonna come from somewhere else and the right projects will come to me. And I think once you start letting go of that, need to be relevant, there's more flow in your work, right? Because the right brands will come to you for your values.
If you cannot be dependent, this is what we've learned now, and what we're working on now is how to, and we're building outside of social media, because we realize that if this is really something that we care deeply about and want to do for our own fulfillment, I think it's going to get to a point where it shouldn't be your daily job anymore. Absolutely. Because you will pander, and if you keep pandering, you'll end up pleasing nobody, and that's sad.
And it also leaves you empty.
It does. Yes. So I'd rather, let's get into the sort of passive income phase where you can build income outside of social media so that you can really keep this for what actually does fulfill your needs or nourishes your soul. Because there's always going to be a need for this content with substance. It's just, it may not be able to pay the bills.
Yeah.
So if you can find another way to pay the bills.
A good balance between the two, right? So let's just bring this back to the topic, which is like new beginnings, which I feel like, one, there's a new beginning in life, even for you. You've moved here, you've come back home, right? What does the future look like for the two of you?
I think you should take
okay, well, I think that it's a version 2.0. It couldn't have come at a better time for me, because so much of my everything, my world whole just completely changed. So it's a complete control, alt, delete, like that, and now a reboot. So the future is, it's going to be doing more of the same, but on our terms. Because if there's anything I learned from pre-pandemic and stuff like that, is that trajectory. Maybe in a way it saved me, because that trajectory, I was doing so well heading up into the pandemic and during the pandemic. So, but I realized it came at the cost of my identity. I had outsourced that. I had basically given that up to the public. And I didn't know anymore. And I felt trapped at one point where I didn't, especially with this new relationship, I was like, how do I realized I had to answer to so many people. So I was like, okay, the future will look like this. It's going to be on your own terms. You may not have as much, but what you have is on your own terms, and you got to be genuine about your life.
How about on a personal level? I'm gonna be just smart. We have my inner boy, Arunda.
Yeah.
On a personal level, what does the future look like for you guys? Like,
Well, I hopefully a lot of travel. Hopefully a lot of travel, but I still see us based here. There was a time we were looking to be digital nomads, but I think we've outgrown that.
Yeah.
that stage.
nakakapagod.
Yeah,
Yes.
I know.
I'm too
No,
old to
but
be a digital
we
nomad.
came from
I
the
dragged him
pandemic.
into that life, and it didn't work well for us.
And after the pandemic, where we're just like so frustrated with all the restrictions and stuff like that.
Travel around.
Now that things have settled, no, I think it's definitely the Philippines for sure, because we're both from here. Kids are here. We're looking to just build here and stay here completely. But doing what we want to do together, building a life together, if this could be not our 100% source of income, but just our source of fulfillment, maybe a little bit of purpose, then that would be the perfect formula.
It's finding ikigai, right?
Yeah.
Ikigai is
Yeah.
your purpose, your fulfillment, what you're good at, and what you can get paid for. It's what everyone's looking for, right? So, okay, just to wrap this up, every episode I like to leave people with one change or one thing that they can do today to help them in their journey of personal growth. And perhaps we can take it in that step of if you're starting your life anew, or if, advice for people with families and they're seeking to change their life. What would that be? Maybe we can start with Roxy.
I would say to have more courage to be disliked, because I'm living my truth anyway. And actually, this is a book that I've been reading about. So for me to stop being affected with every comment that I read, actually, I should just stop reading comments in general. And I know the truth anyway. I know I'm guilt-free. It wasn't a third-party issue. It's so clear that it wasn't. And I don't have to prove anything to anyone and just live my life.
Well, I kind of live by the saying that we have two lives, and the second one begins when you realize you have only one. I think that was Confucius who said that, and it really, really had an impact, because I realized that despite how well-meaning people can be, and we're talking about family, friends that love you and will give you advice, there's really no formula to this. And at the end of the day, when the chips are down and it's really bad, it's a single-player game. You cannot outsource that suffering to other people. You are only going to have to live with the consequences of your own actions. So start investing in yourself. Start really listening to that inner voice. And then understanding that you only pass through this earth once. Like also Rox said, that's very powerful. Have the courage to be disliked. Because when you're being disliked, you're doing something that other people really want to do for themselves but are scared. That's usually a great sign. So go out there, live your life, live it to the fullest, and just see what happens.
Oh, that's great. Thank you so much. For me, my little nugget of wisdom here, I'm going to bring it back a little bit. There was a point in my life where I looked at myself in the mirror and I just hated myself. I was like, this is not me. What are these clothes? Why do I look like this? Why am I selling this image of me? And, it came back down to a lot of things, in the end, it's pleasing other people. And to be honest, no one needs to love you but yourself. And when you really love yourself and who you are, and you can be your most authentic self, the rest is gonna follow. So, here's to liberating yourself from the clutches of appearances, right? And starting over.
And you set the standard. You set the standard of how you want to be loved, and you set that by how you love yourself. Absolutely. Because people will treat you the way you allow yourself to be treated. And I relate to what you said, because there's so many doubts that you can go through as well. Was I a bad father? Was I a bad husband? Maybe if I had given the same attention in this, in the previous relationship, it would look different. But also, it's never that simple, because you're in a different phase of life. And Roxy's also brought a version out of me that I didn't even know I had. So there are people out there that's your soulmate. Just don't give up.
That's great. I love it. Well, cheers to finding your soulmate. Sana all.
Thank you.
Sana all talaga.
Kaya yan.
Sana
if
all.
only.
Yes, but you know what the truth is? the soulmate will come when you love yourself. I think that's the ultimate learning here, right? That kind of love that you can fulfill just by being alone is wonderful.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, guys,
Thank
for
you
being
too.
here. Thank you for
It's such a
joining
pleasure.
this podcast, and I hope you guys learned a lot. This was so insightful. It's actually nice to have a male voice here. Yay!
Role reversal.
And
We're doing
a
this in the
book and
pandemic the other way
cover.
around.
Yeah, so thank you so much, Roxy, for
Thank
being
you
here
so
and
much.
sharing
I
so
love your
openly.
questions.
And Pepper stayed the whole.
She did, I know. She's my emotional support dog, and
Yes.
now yours. I love it. Well, thank you for joining Soulful Feast, bite-sized information to nourish your body, mind, and spirit.